أعوذ بالله السميع العليم من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم، والحمد لله رب العالمين، وصلى الله على محمد وآله الطيبين الطاهرين. اللهم وفقنا وسائر المشتغلين للعلم والعمل الصالح بحق محمد وآل محمد. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وعجل فرجهم والعن عدوهم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقه قولي. قال الإمام علي عليه السلام: إن الله سبحانه ليبغض الوقح المتجري على المعاصي. الله سبحانه وتعالى يبغض الإنسان. مع واحد شنو يعني يبغض واحد؟ يعني واحد يكرهه، هو أشد أنواع الكره هو البغض. الله يبغض، سبحان الله، كيف الله يبغض؟ لكن من أفعال هذا الإنسان، احنا ما نكره الإنسان وإنما نكره أفعال الإنسان. الله يبغض الإنسان، ما أي إنسان، ليبغض الوقح المتجري على المعاصي. وقح من أي ناحية؟ وقح هذا عنده وقاحة، عنده جسارة. تشوفه تقول له يا عيب، الفحش من القول عيب، حرام، ومن الكبائر. تشوفه يزداد، يا النظر إلى المحرمات يزداد، المعاصي يزداد. هذا متجري. يعني إن شاء الله ما عندنا وحدة من بناتنا نقولها بابا أنت المكياج حرام تتمكيجين وتطلعي، تقول لا شيخنا هو هذا بس ظل من هذا الطبيعي، وهذا بابا حرام حرام. تعرفين شنو يعني حرام؟ ومع هذا تحط وتطلع. إذن هذه متجرية لو ما متجرية؟ الله يحبها لو يكرهها؟ احنا نخاف عليها، بنتنا مو رخيصة علينا، احنا من خوفنا عليها انه لا تشوف العقوبات ولا تشوف النار. احنا بابا لا تاخذنا العزة بالاثم. هسه نشوف ارواحنا شباب وعندنا امل بالدنيا وكذا، ما ندري. هذه الوادي اليم نخلي نروح نشوف اكو باعمارنا، بل اكو اقل من اعمارنا ما توراه. فاحنا ليش ما ناخذ عبرة من هذا الامر؟ Anyhow, الامام علي عليه السلام said, Allah the exalted despises the insolent man who is audacious in committing acts of disobedience. So Allah is despising such a person who ignores all the advices of their teacher, their father, their parents. Advise him not to do such or to commit such a sin or such a bad thing or disobey the orders of Allah. But in spite of that, he is disobeying these rules, these advices, and doing or committing the sin. As a result, who is going to lose? You are going to lose, not me. I'm advising for you. I'm giving my advice to you. It is for your what we call it, your end, not for my end. You have to take care of such things. All right. With Islamic laws, we reach, alaykum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. We reach to issue number 488. If a woman who has the fixed habit of time and duration, this woman, she has fixed habit of time. That means it's each month, each 2 consecutive months, it starts the same day and of duration, and it ends with the same day of the beginning and the same day of ending. She sees blood on some days of her habit. She sees blood on some days of her habit, and also a few days earlier, and also she sees blood with few days, maybe 1 day, 2 days earlier than her habit. And if the total number of days does not exceed 10 days, for example, she sees the blood from the 1st to the 8th, while she used to see the blood from the 3rd to the 8th. Today she sees 2 days earlier, But the total number from the 1st to the 8th are how many? 8 days. They are not exceeding 10 days either. So all of it is what? All of it is hayd. So all of it is hayd. And if the number of days exceeds 10 days, what she has to do? Now, she has to go back to her days and to consider the earlier days as what? As istihada. Okay, exceeds 10 days, she will add the number of days within her habitual time to the earlier days and complete her fixed duration. Look, again, and if the number of days exceeds 10, if the number exceeds what? 10 days. And if the number of days exceeds 10 days, that means she has her duration and she has earlier days discharging with earlier days. But the problem here, what is the difference? The difference here is that the total number is what? Is exceeding 10 days. Now, what is the hukum? What is the hukum? She will add the number of days within her habitual time to the earlier days and complete her fixed duration. Those will be the days of hayd, and the rest will be istihada. The rest will be istihada. Let me give you example about this. Look, and if the number of the days exceeds 10 days, she will add the number of days within her habitual time to the earlier days and complete her fixed duration. This lady, she has a habit of time and duration, fixed habit of time and duration. From, let's say, from the 3rd till the 10th. From the 3rd till the 10th. These are how many? These are 8 days. 7 days or 8 days? From the 3rd till the 10th. 8 days. 8 days. Okay, each month she sees the blood for 8 days. Okay, this month she sees the blood earlier with 2 days. With 2 days earlier. And 1 day after the 10. 1 day after the 10. Now, the total number is what? Is exceeding the 10th. Is exceeding the 10 days. And as we know, we have a general rule. This rule, it said the maximum days of hayd are how many? 10 days. 10 days. So, she will add the number of days within her habitual time to the earlier days and complete her fixed duration. What does that mean? That means, look, that means if from the 3rd till the 10th is not completed, what do you mean by that? I'll tell you. She sees the blood 3 days, not 2 days, 3 days earlier. 3 days earlier, okay? And 3 days earlier, let's say I want to make 10 days, more than 10 days. 3 days earlier, and now she sees the blood for 7 days. She sees the blood for 8 days. 3 days and 8 days, how many? They are 11. They are 11. But the problem, the 11 days, she has to go back to her, to her habit. She has to go back to her habit of 8 days. Her habit of 8 days. So she has to complete the 8 days, even from the earlier days. Even from the earlier days, she has to complete 8 days, while the rest while the rest days are what? The days of istihada. We will have the example. Say Sistani gave us example. And if she sees the blood during some of her habitual days plus some days later. Now, the extra days not at the beginning earlier but later. يعني الأيام الإضافية خارج her habit not coming earlier before her habit. No, after the days, after her days. Some days later, and if the total number of days does not exceed 10 days, then all of it will be hayd. And if the total exceeds 10 days, then she will add the number of her habitual time to the later days so as to complete her fixed period of duration. These will then be the days of hayd, and the rest will be classified as what? As istihada. Look, now, I need a piece of paper. All right, I have this. You are with me, please. Have your pen and papers and write down. This lady, her habit of fixed habit of day. No, I have. Thank you. Her habit of fixed date and duration. Fixed date and duration. Each month, she sees the blood. From the 5th till the 10th. From the 5th till the 10th. How many they are? They are 6 days. 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th. 6 days. This is her period. Each month. Okay. This month we have two situations. The first situation, sometimes she sees the blood earlier before the 5th, and the other thing, or the other picture, the other situation, that the extra days, or the extra days, will see them when? After her death, after the 10th. Okay? Either before or after. Good. Now we came back to the possibilities. If the total blood which connected with the 5th day, from earlier or from later, all of it 10 days. All of it, the total number, 10 days or less. So all of it is what? All of it is hayd. This is very clear and simple. Now, if the total number, whether with the earlier days or the later days, the total number are exceeding 10 days. Now, how or what is her obligatory duty? Her obligatory duty is to take her days, which they are the 6th, which she used to have the 6th. Okay, these 6 days are what? Are her period. The 6 days are her period, and the rest will be what? Will be istihada. The rest will be istihada. Is this understood? For example, now, in our example, from the 5th to the 10th, this is the lady from the 5th till the 10th. She has 6 days. For example, she sees the blood. With 5 days earlier. and these 5 days are connected to her period. I mean, connected to number 5. Is this understood? You understand what I'm saying? Yes. 5 days connected to her 5, and she has 6 days. So 5 plus 6, that will be how many? 11. So in this case, she exceeds 10 days. Okay, she exceeds 10 days. What shall we do? What shall we do? In this time, she is going to take 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. How many these are? These are 6 days, because her habit of how many days? 6 days. She will take these days as what? As menstruated. She is going to deal with herself as a ha'id woman in only these 6 days. How about the 5 days earlier? That will be istihada. She will deal with them as what? As mustahada. With ha'id days, you know the rules of ha'id. There is no salah, there is no fasting, there is no worship act. Okay? And the rest of the acts are the prohibited things. And how about these 5 days? Within 5 days, she will pray, she will fast, and she will be forbidden from the acts which are forbidden to the ha'id woman. Is this understood? Are you sure? Okay, good. Now, so when the earlier 5 days, she is going to treat herself as what? As mustahada. Okay, mustahada in which level? The first level, I mean the little istihada, medium istihada, or excessive istihada? Exactly, according to her status. She has to examine herself and to see in which level of istihada she is, and she has to behave accordingly. All right. Issue number 489. If a woman has a fixed habit of hayd, and if she sees blood for 3 days or more, and then it stops and is thereafter seen again. So I have 3 days. And this lady of what? Of a fixed habit of hayd. She sees blood for 3 days, or maybe 4, 5. They must think at least 3 days in order to say this. These are what? These are hayd. Good. And thereafter seen again. And the gap between the two discharges, the two discharge is less than 10 days. Why it is less than 10 days? Because the maximum gap between 2 hayds is what? Is 10 days. 10 days. If it is less than 10 days, it is what? It will be considered as istihada. Good. Okay. And if the total number of days in which blood was seen together, that means the first discharge of 3 days and the second discharge of 3 days or more, with the intermediary period in which it stopped exceeds 10 days. Now it exceeds how many? 10 days. With what? With the intervening gap. With the intervening gap. That means the first discharge and the second discharge and the gap between them. The gap, it means طهر. Okay? Example, when blood is seen for 5 days. اكتبوها تفيدكم كلش. 5 هو الموجود عندكم. 5 days, and then it stops for 5 days. and is again seen on the following 5 days, the total number 15 days. The total number 15 days. Yes. Then it has various rules. In this case, we have what? We have various rules. We have different rules for each one. Number one. طيب. So here we have what? Various rules. Number one, if the blood, now put in your mind, she sees the blood for 5 days, there is tuhur 5 days, and there is another discharge for 5 days. All right? Good. If the blood, all or part thereof, seen in the initial days was during the days of her habit. That means the first 5 days, all of them in her habit. Or maybe 1, 2, 3 days are what? In her habit, while the rest is not in her habit. Is this understood? Is this understood, please? Good. In the initial days was during the days of her habit, and the blood seen later in the second phase, in the second discharge, after her temporary state of being tahir, after the 5 days of tahur, did not come during the days of her habit. So, the second discharge is not in her habit. Only the first discharge is all of them or part of them in her habit, in her period. Then she should treat her first blood to be hayd, and the second one is istihada. Why? Why? Look, now this lady, there is no gap time of 10 days or more. It is less. The gap time between the two discharge is what? Is lesser than 10 days. This is one thing. The other thing, put it in your mind. The other thing, in the first discharge, some of these days or all of them in her period date, in her habit date, while the second phase, the second discharge, is not in her period. Now, she is going to consider the first discharge as what? As hayd, while the first discharge as hayd, and the second discharge, which comes after the gap time, after the tuhur time, as what? As istihada. She has to leave her ibadat in the first phase, while in the second phase, she has to act according to the mustahada. That means she has to do her obligatory duties of worship acts. Is this understood? This is the first one. The second picture, if the blood seen in the initial days is not during the days of her habit. Now, don't forget, we are with the same example. First discharge, 3 days or more. Tuhur, which are lesser than 10 days. And then second discharge, 3 days or more. Put this in your mind. Now, the second discharge, it will be in her period. In her period days. How she is going to deal with it. If the blood seen in the initial days, second discharge, is not during the days of her habit, but the first phase is not in her period, while the second one is in her period. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. All or part thereof was where was seen in the days of her habit. Was seen in her habit. Then she should treat the entire second blood to be hayd and the first as what? The first as istihada. Why? Good question. Why? Can anybody answer her why? Good. Yes, because the first phase is where happened in her period time. For that, we consider it as what? We consider it as hayd because it happened in what? In her days. While the second phase is not happened in the second in her habit days, so it will be istihada. In the second picture, the second phase happened in her days, in her period days. So we consider it as what? As hayd. While the first phase happened where? Not in her days. So it is what? It is istihada. Is this understood, inshallah? It's very easy. It's not difficult. Just to think of it and to start to inquire between you, it will be so easy. The second thing, if she saw the first and the second blood during the days of her habit, how it comes? Easy. This lady of 10 days period, let's say 10 days, and it could be less, 10 days period. She sees the first 3 days for the blood, then 3 days tahur, then 4 days the second blood. All of it were in her period time. The whole blood were in her period time. Okay? But this is easy because all of it will be what? All of it had. But the problem if it exceeds the 10 days. This is our topic. If she saw the first and the second blood during the days of her habit, and if the first blood did not last for less than 3 days, if the first blood did not last for less than 3 days, the first blood is what? Is 3 days or more. Did not last for less than 3 days. يعني ليس أقل من 3 أيام. Okay? Then that period along with the intervening days when she was طاهر will be period of hayd. مثل المثال اللي اعطيتكم إياه يعني 3 ب3 ب4. Provided that the total period covered by them does not exceed 10 days. هذا شرط مهم. And as per obligatory precaution, she will do all that a tahir lady does, and that means to pray and refrain from all that a ha'id is forbidden, just like not touching the secret of the Holy Quran, to do during the intervening period. The intervening period means what? The tahur days. The tahur days. مو أيام the bleeding. لا, the bleeding طبعا she quit all the worship act. But during the tahur days, she has to do what? She has to pray. She has to fast. Okay? She cannot touch the secret of the Quran. Her husband is not coming to her, and so on. and يعني أعمال الحائض وترك أعمال المستحاضة وترك الحائض. And some of the blood which she continuous. Yes. And some of the blood which she continues to see after the days of her habit will be classified as what? As istihada. As istihada. Some of the blood which she continues to see after the days of her habit will be classified as istihada. Why? Because it exceeds 10 days. It exceeds 10 days. She continued to see after the days of her habit will be classified as istihada. But, after but there is what? There is different hukum. But the blood which she may see a day or two earlier than her habitual time can be hayd. Can be hayd, as it customarily occurs in some cases of women with fixed habits. Sometimes women whom they have fixed habit, they see blood earlier with 1 or 2 days. This has happened customarily, naturally, when she is exhausted, when she is tired sometimes, or some of maybe psychologically situation. It happens with her that she sees the blood earlier with 1 or 2 days. These 1 or 2 days, since they are not exceeding the 10 days, she will count them as what? As hayd. Is this understood? Any question, please? But if she finds that by counting the earlier discharge as hayd, the blood which she saw in the second phase during her habitual period will be counted out of the 10 days limit, then she will consider the earlier discharge as istihada. Because if she added the 2 or 1 days earlier and the total number will exceed 10 days, these 2 days will be what? استحاضة. will be استحاضة. أبعد قاعدة احنا أخذنا ما تجاوز على 10 استحاضة. 10 وأقل عندنا تفصيل بي كلنا نعتبره حيض. For example, if her habit was to see blood on 3rd to 10th, this is the example. This is her habit from the 3rd to the 10th. That means 8 days. 8 days of every month. And during any 1 month, the habit changed. What are the changes? And she saw blood from the 1st to 6th. Actually, her habit was from the 3rd, not from the 1st. This month, she sees blood from the 1st. Okay? And then remained tahir for 2 days. 2 days tahir. Thereafter, she saw blood again till 15th. The rule will be that the blood seen from 1st to 10th is hayd, from 1 to 10th is hayd, and that seen from 11th to 15th is what? Is istihada. Why? Because the total number exceeds what? Exceeds 10 days. Exceeds 10 days. Is this understood, my daughters? Ya Allah. Picture number 4 is still with this lady, which she has a habit of fixed time and duration. If she sees blood in both phases. Since he said both phases, there must be a طهر between them. There must be a طهر between them. If she sees the blood in both phases during her habitual days, but blood seen in the initial days, the earlier days, is for less than 3 days, this is the problem. This is the problem. But blood seen in the initial days is for less than 2 days, maybe 1 day, 2 days and a half, okay, than 3 days. Then it is plausible that she may add the days of earlier discharge to complete 3 days. And what she has to do, she has to add from the earlier days. She has to add from the earlier days. If you remember that she sees blood earlier with 1 or 2 days, and she, in her period time, she doesn't have what the 3 days, complete 3 days. So what she has to add in order to be 3, she has to take 1 day from what? From the earlier days. صفنا والجماعة صلوا على محمد وآل محمد. هذه احنا شنو قلنا عليها؟ هذه قلنا عليها شافت الدم قبل أيامها بيوم، يومين، 3 أيام، تمام؟ ولما ب3 أيام، خلي ب3 أيام اجت، ها؟ لا صبري لي. هاي شافت قبل أيامها بيومين، بيوم، تمام؟ لكن أيامها اللي شافت الدم شبيه؟ ما شافت 3 أيام، شافت ايش قد؟ يومين. زين هاش راح نسوي؟ نقول هذين اليومين ضيفي لهن يوم من هذين اللي شفتي ايرلير اللي قبل الدورة مالتك، حتى شي يصير عندك، حتى يصير عندك حيض 3 أيام. تكمل العدد، كملي 3 أيام اللي ريتهن من عندها. منين؟ من هذه السابقة. واضح الفكرة؟ بعد ما حسبنا ايش قد، بعدنا ما حسبنا ايش قد. انا اريد بس اكملها ذن الايام الاولى اللي وقع عن ايامها، ايام الدوره مالتها ما كملت 3 ايام من ايام دورتها. شلون تقول اجتني فقط يومين وانقطعت بعدين؟ قلت لها زين قبلها؟ قالت لا قبلها اجتني فد يومين. قل لها اخذي من هذه اليوم يومين، يوم حتى شو تكملين 3 ايام او 4 ايام، حتى شو تصير؟ حتى يصير حيض. واضح الفكره؟ وضحت؟ اريد اكمل 3 ايام مالتها. هي متواصله، هاي اجت عندها متواصله، ولكن شنو اللي صار؟ التفتي علي باباتي، شنو اللي صار عندها؟ احنا بنقول لها شوفي ايام اللي اجت تشبيه، تقول ايه بايامي، لكن بايامي اجني فقط يومين وصار انقطاع. قلت لها زين قبلها؟ تقول ايه قبلها جاني يوم. نقول هذا اليوم ضمي لهذين اليومين، ايش قد صار عندك؟ ايش حسبنا؟ هو هذا اللي أريد أوصل له. وضحت الفكرة؟ أريد أتمم أكمل. طيب، if she sees blood in both phases during her habitual days, but blood seen in the initial days is for less than 3 days, then it is plausible that she may add the days of earlier discharge to complete 3 days and treat the period as hayd. Then the second blood, which also fell during habitual days, will be counted as hayd. ليش؟ هم بي 3 أيام. Provided that حتى لو ما بي 3 أيام، هو وين صار؟ أثناء أيام العادة مالتها. أنا أريد منين؟ أريد من الأول ذاك اللي أحسبه. أريد 3 أيام. كون أكمل 3 أيام حتى شو أحسبه حيض. Will be counted as hayd provided that على شرط the total of the first and second phase together with the intervening days of pause الطهر بالوسط does not exceed 10 days. مجموعة كل شنو؟ ما تجاوز 10 أيام. أنطيكم عليه مثال بالأرقام لو واضح عندكم. خب. It does not exceed 10 days in certain situations. بعض الحالات الخاصة. She has to regard all the blood seen in the initial period as hair, but there are two conditions for that. Some regards, in some cases, the earlier blood may be counted as what? As hair. Generally? No, not generally. There are conditions. What are these conditions? Let's see. A. The discharge seen earlier than the habitual days must be customarily expected. Customarily expected, what does that mean? That means she said, it happens with me. Yes, this is expected. It happens with me previously. يعني هذه الحالة متوقعة تصير عندي. صايرة عندي قبل هو هسه من صارت عندي فمو غريبة علي. نقول حسبي. Count them as what? As hair. This is one thing. Yes. B. By considering the whole initial period as hair, the earlier days as hair, blood seen in the second phase of the habitual days is not excluded from 10 days maximum. What does that mean? So you have to count the whole initial days with the first phase and the Tuhur days with the second phase. It shouldn't be what? It shouldn't be exceed 10 days. All of it is 10 days or less. Let's see the example. Example will explain this. For example, if a woman has a habit of seeing blood from 4th to 10th, 7 days. From 4th من 4 to 10th. مو عفوا وين 4 هاي 4. From 4th to 10th. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. All of it what? This is her habit. 7 days. 7 days. Okay. Of every month, and she saw it earlier. This month she saw it earlier. One of these 3 days, maybe one or two of these 3 days. All right? It earlier. Say from 1st to 4th. From 1st to 4th. This month she sees blood from 1st to 4th. How many? How many days? 4 days. 4 days. Okay. Then there was a brief period when blood stopped. Say for 2 days. Number 5 and number 6 is what? Tuhur. Number 5 and number 6 is what? Is Tuhur. There is no blood. All right. And again it continued up to 15th. The blood continued to day number 15th. The rule. What is the hukum? The rule is that all blood seen in the first phase is what? Is hayd. And in the second one, blood seen up to the 10th will be hayd. Why will be hayd? Because it is during her period. The rest will be istihada. From 11th to 15th will be what? Will be istihada. Is this understood? أعيدها in Arabic. Okay. This lady, she used to see blood from the 4th till the 10th. 7 days. 7 days. Okay. If you write it down, from 4th to 10th, her period of 7 days. Okay? Now, this month, she sees the blood earlier. From when earlier? From the first, second, third, till the fourth day. Till the fourth day. That means this month she sees the blood. Day number 1, day number 2, day number 3, day number 4. All of it is what? Blood, bleeding. Then the blood stops. Which day stops? Number 5 and number 6. There is what? There is a gap of طهر for 2 days. Then she sees the blood. She sees the blood from day number 7. From day number 7 till 15th. Till 15th. Is this understood? From day number 7 to 15. That means 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. How many days? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 9 days. Okay. Now, I have 2 phases, 2 discharges. The first discharge from the 1st to the 4th included 1 day of her habit. Then she has طهر for 2 days. Then she has bleeding continuous for 9 days. The total days are how many? 15? 15 days. Okay. 15 days. Now, which one is the hayd and which one is the istihada? Yes. So, from which number to which number? Tell me by numbers. Yes. Okay, so day number 1, day number 2, day number 3, day number 4 is her hayd, and no, 5, 6 طهر. Okay? 7, 8, 9, 10. 4 days and 4 days, 8 days will be hayd. While the rest blood till the 15th is istihada. Is this understood? Yes, my daughter. Please have the mic. Give her the mic, please. Where is the mic? Please, take the mic. Take the mic. Fixed. Her habit of fixed date. Okay? Turn it on. Yes.
اليوم الأول والثاني والثالث والرابع.
Okay.
احنا قلنا بس الرابع هو من ضمن الأيام.
Okay.
وصار أكو فد الخمسة والستة صار عندنا قار اللي هو طهر.
Yes.
زين رجع 7 8 9 10 يعني رجع فد 10 أيام خلينا نقول.
Okay.
زين هي ليش اعتبرت الأربعة اللي بالبداية حيض؟ احنا مو ناخذ بس واحد اللي هو من يوم ما يعني.
One day is not enough to be hayd.
No.
We said the lesser number of hayd, how many? 3 days. And we said to complete from where? From the earlier days.
Yes.
Is this understood?
Yes.
Okay.
زين هن 4 أيام.
Okay. 4 days.
يعني the beginning.
And we will leave number 5 and 6. 7, 8, 9, 10. 4 days.
زين ذني كلهن الأربع أيام تعتبرهن يعني حيض.
Listen to me, my daughter. Listen to me. We said we will take 10 days as what? As hayd. Included what? Included the intervening days.
Yes.
Included the طهر days. I have 4 days from here. And 4 days, 8 days. And 2 days, 10 days. That's it. The rest, istihada. احنا شنو قلنا لها؟ قلنا لها اولا تكملين اول يوم تكملين منين اذا ما صار عندك 3 ايام من ايامك تكمليها من الايام اللي اجتك شنو قبل ايامك. حتى شريد تريد 3 ايام حتى تطلع 3 ايام. هاي انت صار ايش قد؟ يومها وياها 3 ايام صار ايش قد؟ رحم الله والديك 4 ايام. قلنا لها هذا لازم حيض قاعد خوش. قلنا لها عندك يومين ايش قد صار؟ ذن الطهر بس ما لي علاقة بالأعمال. الطهر نضيف إنه يعتبر من أيام الحيض، إيش قد صارن؟
6 أيام.
زين، استمر البليدنج إلى يوم 15. إلى يوم 15 شو يقول لي؟ إذا تجاوز ال10 شو يقول لي؟ يقول لي ارجع لأيامها، خل ترجع لأيامها. إيش قد أيامها عدها هي؟ إيش قد أيامها عدها؟ لل10. فراح نرجع لل10 من ضمنهن الطهر نحسبه كله شنو؟ حيض. ما لي علاقة بالأعمال، أريد أحسب الأيام. لل10 نعتبره حيض، والبقية فوق ال10 استحاضة. نجي لأعمالها، الأربعة الأولى والأربعة الثانية خب حاضر انتهينا من عدها، لأن اليومين أعمال المستحاضة وتروك الحائض.
يعني إلا ما اعتبرنا إنه إحنا الهير ديت مالتها تصير الهير هابت العفو مالتها تصير 10 days. يعني بس هي شيء
رجعناها لل10 days. ليش رجعناها لل10 days؟ تقولي لي شيخنا مو هي أساسا، التفتوا هي أنا عرفت وين نقطة إسراء. تقول هي أساسا من يوم 4 إلى يوم 10. From the 4th to 10. Wait, from 4 to 10. But here I have two cases. Case number 1 is numbered 4 by itself. I cannot consider it as what? As hayd. So what shall I do? I will add some days in order to have the 3 days or more. This is number 1. Number 2, I have 2 days as طهر. So I will calculate from the first earlier days till number 4, these 4 days. And with the طهر 2 days, 6 days. And I will take from the second phase till the day number 10. How many?
10 days.
4 days in order to complete 10 days, while the rest will be what? The rest will be استحاضة. بعد ما عندك، ما مقتنعة فيش. طيب شنو اللي ببالك؟
اللي ببالي إنه بس إحنا مو قلنا اليوم الرابع هو يعتبر من أيام الحيض؟
من أيامها.
من أيامنا.
زين بس ما حسبها هسه من أيامها.
ما يعتبر هو حيض إلا إذا نضيف له يصير 3 أيام.
أحسنت.
زين إحنا ليش ما نضيف له بس اليوم الثاني والثالث وهو الرابع يصير عن 3 أيام واليوم الأول يعتبر استحاضة؟
لا ما اعتبره استحاضة، لأن أنا هذا راح أخذه كله حيض بحساب عندي. مو حساب عندي باباتي، مو عندي حساب. أنا أستاذني ل3 أيام ما يعتبرنه هواية. مو قلنا بشرط إن هي متعودة تشوف هذني، يعني مو يعني جايتها سابقا، مو فشي جديد عليها. بالشروط اللي فوقها هاي متعودتها، فراح نضمها حتى يصير هذا شنو؟ هذا الديسشارج الأول. وضحت الفكرة؟ هذا صار عندي بارت 1. البارت الثاني من راح أضيف هذني التو طهر دايز وياهن. إيش قد صار؟ صار 6. إيش قد بعد أحتاج؟ بعد أحتاج 4 حتى أوصل لل10. فأجي من الفيز الثاني أخذ فقط 4 والبقية شنو أعتبره؟ استحاضة، حتى يصير عندي 10 أيام بالعدد. يصير عندي 10 أيام بالعدد. تمام؟ أوكي. Let's take last issue only, this issue. Issue number 490. If a woman with a fixed habit of time and duration, fails to see blood in her habit, she fails to see the blood, okay? And sees it earlier or later, but she sees the blood either earlier or later, but in her blood time she doesn't see what? She doesn't see blood. It will be considered as hayd if it comes for the equal number, for example 6 days, and bears the signs and the same black or red, goes out with irritation, okay? It will be considered as what? It will be considered as hayd if it comes earlier or later. والحمد لله رب العالمين وصلى الله على محمد وآله الطيبين الطاهرين. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وعجل فرجهم والعافية.